Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Chris Yee.
So, a bit of explanation. So,
you set us up. This is a hit job.
this is not. I don't understand why everyone is so nerve-wracked about this list. I don't care. Okay, so, first of all, I appreciate the website, BoardGameGeek.com. It is the #1 board game website that I go to. In fact, it's more than all the rest put together.
Yeah.
You know, period. It's just a great website. I'm friends with the owner. I like what they do. I disagree with some of the ways they do various things, but whatever. For the most part, I like it. They let people rank games there from 1 to 10. Then they put them in order, and it goes from 1 to 25,000 now, I think. You have to have a certain number of rankings or you don't even make that list.
Right.
There's like 200,000 games, but only 25,000 of them are ranked. But the top 10 is what people look at. That's just what people do. They look at the top 10. If you want to see a real People's Choice Top 100, Dice Tower does one every year, called the People's Choice.
Nice plug.
Well, no, but it's true, and this is one of the few times I call it out. That is a better thing, and that's because of it takes into account changes. Like if on Board Game Geek, I can go rate something at 10. Unless I go physically change it, it's never going to change.
That is something I thought about for sure.
Yes.
Looking, re-looking through some of my ratings, thinking like, it takes a lot of effort to go rank things, and I should from time to time, but I don't. So, it happens.
Yeah, they people propose things like ratings decay, where the longer your ratings there, the less valuable it is. But I don't agree with that either, because sometimes my 10 is still a 10.
Yes.
Later on. So, anyhow, this is mostly for fun.
It's a little tongue-in-cheek.
Mostly. Not much for me. But there are... So the best way to do this is we're going to start by looking at the current top 10. And then I'll explain what we're trying to do here, or what I'm trying to do. I don't know. Camilla probably didn't follow any of the instructions. So
The instructions you didn't give me?
Okay,
Correct,
so-
I did not follow them.
Right. So here's our current top 10. So I don't know how they're listed here. Okay, so 10 is Spirit Island. Trash. I'm kidding. I like Spirit Island.
This is a hit job.
Not as much as Camilla likes it.
Noted.
Number 9, Gaia Project. Number 8 and 7 amuse me. Star Wars Rebellion and Twilight Imperium 4th edition. And they amuse me because 20 years ago, everyone's like, oh, the game can't make it unless it's a Euro game on Board Game Geek. Well, go figure. Number 6 is Ark Nova, by far the newest on the list. Wait, that just changed. It was 7 just a bit ago.
That's right. Rebellion and Imperium were not next to each other.
Like today?
It's been the last few days, actually.
Okay.
I looked at this not long ago.
6.
Yeah.
Yes, one of my predictions for 2022 is going to happen.
Hey.
All right. Number 5, Terraforming Mars. Oh, that's interesting. You think it will pass it? I don't know. Number 4, Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. Number 3, Pandemic Legacy Season 1. Number 2, Brass Birmingham. And number 1, Gloomhaven. This is another problem I have with the top 10. Gloomhaven is there twice.
Yes.
Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion is
yes.
Gloomhaven again.
Right.
So, go figure. But these are all great games. I mean, Brass sucks. No, it's a great game. But I don't like it. So therefore, it sucks to me. But the rest of them I like. The rest of them I like. But what we're doing here is we're saying these are games that I think I would want in a top 10. So if someone came to me and said, what are the top 10 games of all time to play? These are not my top 10. In fact, only one game on my list is in my personal top 10. I think, maybe. I'm not even sure
I think it's 1 for me as well, yeah.
I think it's 2 for me.
Because there are some games that I really like. Let me pick one for, it's not my top 10, but it's like in my top 20, Adventureland.
Okay.
I don't think that should be in the top 10 at Board Game Geek. I very specifically like it for various reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, I understand the numerically challenging, problematic nature of this list by me picking 10 games that should be in the top 10. Therefore, I am saying they are the top 10.
And that's... Go ahead.
No, please.
And that is not how I did it. Because I ordered mine, like, these are the top 10 games I think deserve to be in the top 10 for various reasons. And as you go higher up the list, it's the stronger justification I have for it.
And it's not necessarily saying my 10 should be number 10, my 9 should be the BGG number 9. These are just 10 great games that I think each on their own merits could be on there. Well, a similar type of a thing. I think that there is more justification I could give the higher up the list it is.
Okay, what I did was I took their current rankings, and so my number 1 is the farthest from the top 10.
Oh,
it's the
that's
lowest
weird.
ranked one, while number 10 is in the 20s. But I would.
That makes me feel less bad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I want
right,
to say
good.
only one of these do I know what the ranking is.
But I also
have no
didn't.
idea.
I also didn't want to be ridiculous here.
Yes.
I didn't want to
avoid-
be like, well, Munchkin or whatever the reason is.
Right.
Top 10 is also not top 10 played.
There is some of that. I don't know. There's different ways to factor
Well, okay,
and
so
value weight
Why
into
would it be
it.
top 10 play? I don't understand that.
I mean, in the world, because if I went by the top 10 hamburgers in the world by the number that people ate, McDonald's would be 1. I don't think McDonald's burgers are the best.
Yeah, no, that's stupid.
Right, but so I'm arguing against myself here. So Monopoly, I don't think is a top 10 game.
Right.
But I also think a very esoteric game that no one plays hardly at all is a poor choice to put in the top 10.
I understand what you
Okay.
mean, but I think you are arguing against yourself.
I am.
Yes. So
What's that called? I'm a schizo.
So I'm gonna. So one thing that I'll say, there was
Schizo Vasel.
There's a comment someone made on one of our videos a while back that said, in the gaming industry, we don't honor the classics the way that movie lists do. Top 100s of movies or top 100 albums, and I've occasionally thought about that, and this was an opportunity where I thought, I'm going to make some comparisons of my game picks to albums, to the way that I think critically of music, because music is one of my other huge hobbies. And so I'm going to make some comparison points here between the games I pick and like an analogous album that I would consider to be like a top 10 album of all time as well.
Interesting.
That being said, I think the movie analogy I disagree with, because I was looking at the top movies on IMDb, which are voted on by people,
Yes.
are 10 movies that I have all seen. While the top 10 as voted on by the American Critics Society, I've seen 2, I think.
Right.
That's because they're snobs. Marvel Endgame, Avengers Endgame is one of the greatest movies ever. And just because the critics don't think so is balderdash. I like it. And I feel the same way about games. And I have a couple on my list that I feel strongly in that regard. That they're not critically acclaimed, but I think they could be in the top 10 anyway.
Right, and I think that'll be interesting to make. For me, that's kind of how I approach this. Is how I wrapped my head around this, and that's going to be some of the defense of my games and my picks.
I think some of my defense is just going to be a lot of, I think, just underrepresented. I think a lot of times people new in the hobby or newer in the hobby will say, they go to BGG, I like this game, what else is something like it? Or what is that mechanism so I find others like it? Or what are the top games? I don't know. And just, it's kind of an avenue for a lot of people to get into and to find and explore the hobby. And I feel like sometimes this top 10, top 100 on BGG kind of does them a disservice.
You have to like big games.
You do.
There's not a single game in the top 10 that's not big.
And I feel like there's a lot of underrepresented mechanisms that are really done well in some games that are just underrepresented on the top 10. So that's a lot of how I approached my list, is the kind of things that I would want to see when I was new in the hobby or getting into, or when I was going to the top 10, top 100 to kind of explore new games. What would have been helpful, like really good games in the hobby that showcase what the hobby can do and has to offer.
If you, to go with the music analogy, if someone says, hey, recommend the top 10 albums of all time, I'm not going to pick the most challenging pieces of music to listen to.
Right.
I'm going to pick things that are maybe there's just very approachable and successful and widely appreciated.
Yeah.
A good way to look at this list is every year we make our top 100s. They're my favorites. I don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
And people are like, you need to try to be more objective. I am. That's what this list is. This is me
Yeah.
trying to be objective.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. My
was
top 10 is my
mostly
picks.
did-
It's also
that, I
objective.
think, but-
This is the way it should be.
Pretty sure.
Actually, if I, real quick, of these top 10 that are in there, which one would you kick out first?
Oh.
I mean, besides one of the Gloomhavens,
yeah.
right.
Okay, well, the Gloomhaven,
That's
besides that one.
obvious.
And
Well, let me see the other. Roy, can we see 6 through 10? If you say it, this is.
I'm not saying
Blunt
Spirit
enough
Island.
to hurt when I stab.
I would say Gaia Project.
Yeah, I don't
But
know
I mean, there
what
isn't
it
any
is.
other. There's only 2 heavy Euros in there, and that's Gaia. There's Gaia Project and Brass Birmingham. Then there's the midweight Euros. Well, I say midweight; they're heavy for most people. But
Yeah.
for Board Game Geek, the Ark Nova and Terraforming Mars. Honestly,
Ark Nova's so new. I think that's one of the surprises here.
but it is hard to get in there, so it's not particularly. But it's also hard to get kicked out.
Yes.
All right, you know what? I don't actually know the order of the list here. Who's going first? Chris is?
Oh, that's
All
right,
right.
because I didn't put this PowerPoint together. All right.
All right, here we go. Number 10.
All right, so my number 10, I'm going to be going with this music analogy, like I said, and I think that my explanations hopefully are going to justify the picks, and I think that the comments who are very upset with all of my picks are going to be the people that scrubbed to the end and
Right.
didn't listen to my discussion.
That never happened.
No.
Never.
So my number 10.
You're wrong. I'm prepping you.
Yeah, thank you.
Why is Chris in these top 100s? Chris is. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm just reading the comments.
Oh, got it, yeah. Future vision. My number 10 is one that I do consider to be a classic. It's one of the older ones that I picked, actually, and that is Ra by designer Rainer Knizia, a 1999 game, but this is obviously the newest printing of it.
Oh, which is so pretty.
Well, that's one of the things about this, that it stays in print. It goes through waves, but it continues to be in print. This is a fantastic auction game. It's so much driven by the players. I really, really enjoy this game, and I think that there should be some respect of the classics, but they have to be good. They can't just be classic to be respected. They have to be really, really engaging and welcoming still. I'm going to make a comparison here to this. This is like almost like a Beatles album. Rainer Knizia puts out a lot of stuff, right? The Beatles had a very successful career, but this is like mid-era Beatles. This is like Rubber Soul. An album that's past their beginning kind of stuff, matured a little bit, but didn't go full Sgt. Pepper kind of llama, the dice game, era of the Beatles or era of Knizia. I think this is such a mature
I don't know
and
what he's
good.
talking about.
This is such a really
This
good.
analogy makes no sense to me.
Do you know what Sgt. Pepper's is?
Yes.
That's my favorite. Never mind. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
that's-
get myself in
that's a no.
trouble.
And I love that album, but they went, they got kind of zany and everything. But Rubber Soul is still a very grounded album, and I think that this game is from just a really sweet period of Knizia's designs that I really like. So that's my number 10, Ra.
All right. Who's next?
Me.
Come on.
My number 10, I am not a big party game person, but I think, again, people getting into the hobby, that's kind of something that they're familiar with. Whether it's Cards Against Humanity, whether it's, I don't know, because I really don't play those games, but, like kind of those party games. But I think Obscurio hits a really sweet spot where it's not quite party. It's not quite party, but it is the larger group.
I'm all
Hear me out. Hear me out. So it's not party, but it has that larger group feel. But I think, and I kind of considered maybe Dixit for this because it has the kind of similar thing. But I think this does a little bit more.
You are
It brings that
turning
hidden.
red.
You are. I'm so happy right now. I'm so excited.
Look at the name.
What's that? Obscurio.
Feels so ironic. You're a hipster. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, but I think it does a little bit more, and so I think it opens that door a little bit more into the hobby and shows, kind of you can play with the hidden trader if you want, or the whatever it's called, and it just shows a lot of what can be done with bigger groups, bringing them together and kind of cooperating, having a hidden trader element, but giving you some meat and discussion as well. And I think that that's very underrepresented in the top
I
10.
agree with everything you said.
Yes.
Except the word Obscurio.
Wait, how do you say it? Are you saying because I say it wrong?
No.
No,
You're saying-
Tom will not correct you on a game pronunciation. Let's get this straight.
Well, if I did, it would be wrong. There's so many other party games you could have picked, like Dixit.
But again, I think that this one brings more meat. I think Dixit would probably be a top 20, maybe 30, something like that. But I think that this one brings a little bit more. So
Checking
again,
to see if Dixit made my list. I considered
It is,
Dixit. No, I considered it strongly,
yeah, because
though.
it's top 20, not top 10. This is top 10.
I have a different
We're doing
party
top
game
10.
in my top 10 here.
Okay. All right. Well, keep in mind that you were the one who said it shouldn't be determined by plays. This is not a McDonald's choice.
Dixit
This is
is
not a
McDonald's.
McDonald's choice, but
Dixit
this
is
is also
McDonald's.
Billy Bob's in the corner of Alabama, which no one can get to.
What?
This is
You can
not
get this game.
Not very easily. It's also out of print, I think. It's also not very popular.
Well, you can get it. I just got it not long ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you steal it from the library because I kicked it out?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I got my own copy.
All right.
It's not all about you, Tom.
My number 10. All right, well, I'm going to be a little bit more open here with my number 10. My number 10 is ranked number 24, so it's not a bigger sweep. I just think with the popularity of this game, even though there's definitely a segment, a group of people who every time this game is mentioned say, this game's mentioned too much, and then it's not as good as people think. So what game do people say is mentioned too much?
Wingspan.
Yes,
Yeah.
Wingspan. But it is mentioned that much, and it probably won't ever hit the top 10 because most games peak in their first couple years and they're not going to rise anymore. And whether you like Wingspan or not, and I know some people literally don't like it, that's fine. Wingspan definitely has ushered in the age of the nature game. Definitely starts here with Wingspan. And it also is a game, when you look at the themes of the current top 10, Terra Mystica, fantasy, the one Euro game, heavy Euro game up there is fantasy themed. And then we got space, and then Brass Birmingham, which, everyone loves talking about the industrial age. Wingspan is something everyone can play, and
Industrial Age
it's
is one of my favorite
easy, and
themes.
it's a fun game. So, yeah, I think I would put Wingspan in the top 10. But it's also not that far of a jump. That's why it's my number 10.
No, I absolutely agree. I think I consider this one for sure, and I just kind of, I don't know, I feel better about my other picks, but I really considered this.
I did as well. This was on my consideration, and it just got nudged out.
I thought this might be the one crossover. Well,
Yeah, no, it was definitely considered.
actually, my number 9 is my
my
other one
personal
crossover, I think.
enjoyment of this one held it back a little bit. I find the game good.
All right.
All right, my number 9 is a step away from the Beatles, and this is more like a Metallica Master of Puppets kind of album. My number 9 is a game called Kemet.
Stranger Things, though.
I really enjoy Kemet, and I think that there is a lot of this. It's very well respected. If you want a game that is very punchy and very aggressive, I think this is one of the best implementations of area control, a mechanism that I'm very iffy with. I'm very hit or miss, but this one is a hit for me, and I know it's a hit for a lot of people. It's action-packed. It is. It is aggression forward of a game, and that's why I kind of compare this to like a Master of Puppets album, something that is both really. The lead track off of the album is called Battery, along with Master of Puppets is one of the big.
You said
breakout
but
songs.
I'm.
As you know.
I don't, but.
But that's what this
I'm really
is.
dumb about music right now.
But underneath it all is just a really educated composition. Master of Puppets, I think, is one of those albums where the Metallica's basis at the time was huge into classical music, and I see that come through in the music so much. This design has a lot of, you send people on a map, go fight each other and stuff, but it's well orchestrated, it's really smooth. I think if there should be an aggressive game in the top 10 on BGG, this should be it. That's my number 9, Kemet.
Well, there is an aggressive game, TI4 and Star Wars Rebellion.
Yeah, I said if. This is my imaginary world where for some reason that's not the top 10.
Oh, you've replaced the top 10. I'm just saying these games are candidates to join the top 10.
No, that's more what I'm saying. I was just being silly. But yeah, there are aggressive games out
I
there. but
love
this one
Kemet.
is-
It's one of my favorite games. I just feel it's a little rough around the edges for some people.
Yeah, Metallica's a little rough around the edges for some people. That doesn't stop their albums from being
devil.
amongst them.
Gosh,
Something the devil.
so much music.
Yeah, well, you saw what it did to that boy in Stranger Things.
I did. Spoilers.
All right, my number 9, I expect pushback on almost all of these.
We will provide
excellent.
it.
But number 9,
Also,
I
Monopoly's
definitely
not centered to drive me nuts. Okay.
expect pushback because it is Pandemic Legacy Season 1, which I know is on the top 10. But I think out of the top 10,
I
you
am
asked.
confused.
Listen, out of the top 10, you said which one does not deserve to be there. Which one would you kick out? This is the one looking at the top 10 that I'm like, that one should absolutely be there. I
You
can
wanna
make
kick
the
it out
stomach
and put it back in.
to put it back in. I'm not saying it should be number 1, but that is the one that I think has the strongest reason to be on the top 10.
Why do you think that should be there, not Pandemic?
Because I think it shows what Pandemic gets so many people into the hobby. right? It's kind of that gateway. And I think this really opens and shows what they can do. It's kind of the introduction to story building, to an evolution of a game, to big sessions that you commit over and over, kind of that campaign style. I think it really shows how a game or a mechanism can grow on itself. And it really just opens a lot of doors, and it does it so well and so smoothly where you feel part of the game. And it's such a great experience that I think it builds on a game that people know and just does it so well.
Okay.
So it deserves to be in the top 10.
There were no instructions given on this whatsoever. I debated, should I pick things that are in the top 10 currently, because your instructions were intentionally, mind you, very vague. So,
Yes.
Well, you're acting like I make a vague just so there's discussion in the top 10s. that would be madness.
And if you don't like this pick season 0 or season 2.
Right, and I was saying, my personal enjoyment
Have
is
you played
season
season
0.
0?
I love season 0. Of the 3, that is my
Okay.
favorite. But I think this one, again, starts with that base game, which I think is better for the top 10.
And those days are gone now. Because you were talking about how much you like 0. When 0 came, there was 4 of us. We played it. Now there's more than 4 of us. What if another season comes?
Oh man.
Well, they already said there's not
Well,
going
even
to be.
like
They lie all the time.
I hope they
Well,
lie.
even like that Risk Shadow Forces, like a couple of us were like, oh, interested, but how do we determine who plays what?
I still haven't opened the box.
Oh, okay, I'd like to play.
Oh, okay. All right. My number 9 is ranked number 28, and this is the other one that people think is probably mentioned too much. Although it's very different than Wingspan, it's also very different than every other game on this list because it's just a very unique game, but it became super popular, and that's Root. Root is the game I put in the top 10 because I go, I applaud you, Root. I am impressed by you. I like you. I don't want to play you every night. You're not my comfort game. Although some people it is.
That's a good way of putting it. It's not my comfort game.
I think Root's fantastic. But if we're sitting there like, what do you want to play? And you're like, Root. I'm like, why not? That doesn't
Oh,
happen.
no, I feel like it's a plan ahead game.
It is.
And by
It's-
that, I've never played it because it's very
Because
intimidating.
you're bad at planning ahead in life.
No,
Look
well,
where you are working
Look
now.
at, oh, jeez.
Wow, you insulted everyone
Wow,
at the
you
table.
just like, that
How
was,
rude.
yeah, I'm offended for everyone on that one.
Well, I lost my train of thought because Chris ruined the day.
So rude.
Oh, if you want to learn Root, the app is
Yes.
the app teaches you how
I
to
need
play.
to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta get an iPad first.
That's another reason to justify it being here, is that it is accessible in part because of that app.
Yeah, I think it's a really neat game, and it also feels like an accomplishment. And I like that Leader Games keeps trying. You know, they did Oath, and what's the one this year? Shamaga?
Four letters, schmug.
Smug.
Yeah. No, it's ahoy.
Ahoy,
Ahoy,
right?
oh.
So they keep coming out with all these games, and I know that they meant Oath to be their Magnus Magnum Blast.
This is going great. Yep.
Now I'm all nervous.
I'm proud of
Chris
us.
ruined my day.
Yep.
Okay, but I think Root, it will be hard for them to ever top Root.
Yes.
I know they got the space one is coming. I can't remember what that one is either, too.
Someone in the chat asked, Root over Oath? Yes!
Well, and again, I haven't even played Oath, but here's the thing. Most people haven't. Because it is that difficult to get into. While Root, a lot of people played Root who would not normally play one of the
Coin
games, the big giant war games, which this is. They disguised the war game and got away with it. It should have been in the liars list. Anyway, Root, my number 9.
All right, for my number 8, I am doing something. This is the one that's dangerously closest already to the top 10. I think it could, in our lifetime, breach the top 10, maybe. My number 8 is Dune Imperium. I think
It's
this is
really close.
I think it's like 15 or so right now, right? And so
it's top 20.
I debated, should I even put this on the list? But ultimately I decided yes, because I think it's that solid of a game. This game is a wonderful amount of tension. It is one of the most tense games that I've ever played. We were talking earlier about how the current BGG top 10 is a lot of games that take a lot of investment to get into. This one is maybe the closest one on my list that takes, a decent amount of investment, but I think that the payoff is so good. It's still not that difficult to get into.
I don't know what kind of... nothing you're saying makes sense because you are not using a music analogy.
Okay, well, my music analogy for this,
Because
right?
you related so
Did you write them
well.
down, all your music analogies?
I did.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I wrote like a note on here. I wrote the word a movie soundtrack. Right. This is to me like you occasionally get that movie soundtrack, a movie score, or something. Well, no, I mean, but like even the what is it, the Bodyguard. There occasionally are soundtracks that break into like some of the highest rated albums of all time, like the Whitney Houston. Is that what that one's called?
Yes, that's one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. There's one song on it.
Look, I'm saying that occasionally you look at people's lists and stuff like that does break through. I think that it's worthwhile on the BGG Top 10 to have a game that has this type of theme on it. You know how sometimes listening to a soundtrack to a movie is like an extension of your experience of that movie or of that book or something. Having a game like this, Dune themed, that is an extension of that movie-going or book-reading experience, I think it's very representative of what a lot of people really like in this hobby. I like this game tremendously, so that's why it's my number 8.
I will say, I mean, this is a good pick, I think, for one of these IP kind of games because I don't care about Dune at all. Like I've tried to read the book, I think 3 to 4 times, something like that, and it's
Very
not
reasonable.
Yeah, no, and so it's like I don't care, but I still enjoyed the game. You know, it's still my top one in my top 100.
Did you watch
and
the
so
movie?
I did.
Okay, good, because we're going to go see part 2. It'd be awkward if you hadn't seen part 1.
Oh, like every Marvel movie I've gone to with you guys. I don't know. Poor Roy sitting next to me. Roy, who's that?
That's Spider-Man.
That was the exact
I'm not sitting
conversation.
next to her in a movie. I got time for that.
But yeah, so I think it's a good pick because it appeals to people that aren't even into the lore. I think that would maybe make it even better. But
And
it
people
does hit
who are
more people.
huge into Dune do love the game as well.
I am very intrigued now. Like you said, it might make the top 10. That feels like a good betting thing. Because it might.
It might.
But it might not. It's
How much are you willing to put down?
I don't know. We'll talk afterwards.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. All right. My number 8 is the game that to me is just fun. And again, it's kind of in that Obscurio thing again, but not where I think it kind of facilitates a lot of group cooperation, and it always has a story. When we played this game live, someone made a comment that's like, every time you play this game, a camera comes out and you take a picture, and it's just that aha moment. No, not Pitch Perfect. It is Minara.
Really?
I think that this game really is...
Look,
You're so mad.
I've had some disagreement with you, but you are just wrong on this one.
This one is fantastic because it shows that dexterity and strategy can exist very well together in the same sphere. And I think it does it very, very well. It facilitates that cooperation, those tense moments, and it builds an experience around those two mechanisms, both of which aren't really done well often. I think there's a lot of dexterity games out there that are just clunky or too skill specific or just not fun. They're just frustrating. And I think that this shows that you can have strategy. You need to have the dexterity. You can build on it and use your strengths and the fiddliness of it, but then also have that strategy behind it to build in order to complete the objectives in time. And I think it does well having those two together really, really smoothly. And you can disagree, and that's okay. This is my list that I think this one should be in the top 8 or top 8, no, top 10.
I daren't disagree.
I mean,
you're
I think this is.
welcome
I don't like Minara, so it doesn't.
Okay.
I think this is a good pick for a dexterity game for the reasons that you mentioned. It's about the strategy and the decision making. It's very cooperative.
Very much so.
You can't just be like, "Oh, am I trying to do the red pillar?" And the whole team will be like, "No, what are
Right,
you
yeah.
doing?"
I don't know what game I would put in its place. I mean, besides literally every other dexterity game, but
Really?
I don't know what dexterity game I would pick for this. Because on one hand, I might go Crokinole, but there's a big argument Crokinole is not even a board game.
Right. No,
That's
I would
more
say
like
that's an
darts.
activity, right? Or it's up there with cornhole.
So
to me.
what is the cornhole? I'm just always amused by that.
Do you not call it cornhole where you're from?
We call it beanbags.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just, and then
Interesting.
I don't know, because Jenga's not it, right? And maybe you're right for you. My number 8
Ooh, that's almost a compliment.
is one of 2 different games I could have picked. These games are always compared whenever we do a top 10. No one ever says one without saying the other. I prefer one of them 10 times over the other, but I'm picking the other for my list because it's more of a groundbreaking moment in gaming, and that's Agricola. Caverna is my game of choice. I have not played Agricola since Caverna has come out, I think. No, I think I went back and played it once with when the revised version came out. But, I'm playing Caverna.
You haven't played this in that long. Interesting.
Because Caverna is, I played Caverna a lot.
You did, yeah.
I really like Caverna. But Caverna is Agricola 2.0. And Agricola broke so much ground. This is my, another game I'm giving homage to here, but it also still holds up well. My reasons for not loving Agricola is that the whole feature people thing, and it doesn't allow you to. It kind of forces you to diversify, and I don't want to diversify in a game. Like I want to pick one strategy and I want to have the most sheep. This game has done a lot. This game changed our hobby. So it's not just Hall of Fame. We'll do a Hall of Fame here sometime at the Dice Tower. And Agricola would definitely be in the Hall of Fame. But I also think it's a solid game. I can't help it that there's a younger, flashier, more comfortable brother. Younger brother, Caverna. I'm using whatever analogies I want.
You're kind of really selling me on Caverna.
What, that Caverna should be on my list and not Agricola?
I think so, yeah.
But Agricola is the one that's... Maybe you're right.
I said, but this isn't the Hall of Fame. It's not the top 10 Hall of Fame.
My number 8 is Caverna. Roy doesn't have time to change this slide.
But yeah, for this purpose, you think Caverna is that great of a game, and it's a redevelopment on something.
I was trying to take my own biases out. I was removing myself from the equation. That's why I put Agricola in.
I respect you.
But if one's more fun,
it really is more fun, Caverna.
Then yeah.
All right.
So
anyway,
you're wrong.
All right.
Agricola, number 8. Hey, Caverna, whatever. Pick one.
My number 7 is the first crossover, and possibly the only crossover we're going to have. It is not Manara. My number 7.
You the one with me?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm looking at my list there's no way we have
If it's
crossover.
Pandemic Legacies,
I have
come on now.
100% confidence no one will cross over with me.
Okay, well, nothing yet. Stay hopeful for the future. We'll see. But no, my number 7 is Root. I agree wholeheartedly, and I tried to make sure to comment a little bit so you didn't just, I didn't sit here in dead silence and you say, I knew it.
I suspect everyone.
Yeah, you suspect everything, sure. No, my number 7 is Root for the same reason. It demystified a genre of gaming. It is immensely popular despite the fact that I would seldom play this asymmetric and thinky of a war game. But, it's the right type of window dressing for what is a very strategic and very difficult game. I don't know how to say that. It makes itself not difficult. I think that's what's really admirable about it. So my musical comparison is like the first time that I listened to Tool's Lateralus album. It is a very progressive, heavy, thinky, mathematically sound composition. That whole album is fantastic. And even though it is one of those, I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit more of a challenging bit of music to listen to. The constant time signature changes.
I've been joking a lot, but who?
Tool.
Oh, at least I knew that.
I don't know anything about it. What song did they sing?
Schism, Parabola. They do a lot of songs about math. You might like them.
What kind of music is it?
Oh, it's metal. Very progressive.
Tool, no.
Oh, I hate metal.
No, you will not like it.
Don't look it up. You don't.
But that's the thing is they took a genre of music.
Flower.
They took a genre of music, progressive, very mathematically thinky, and make it incredibly easy to listen to. And so that's my analogy for Root, is that this is something mathematical, deep, asymmetric, all that stuff, but yet still approachable, and all the more better for the app. So that's my number 7.
All right. My number 7.
Hang on.
Oh, you can
Go
look
ahead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, pull your pants a little higher too.
My number 7. It's one that builds on the roll and move mechanism, which I think is a very dated or just not very well done mechanism most of the time.
Monopoly.
Like Monopoly, but actually a good game that I would play, and I very much enjoy it. It is Jamaica. I think that this game deserves to be in the top 10 because it shows in that roll and move, very dated but also very comfortable mechanism, how you can use it and incorporate it, again, bringing a little bit of strategy to it, but have that kind of comfort food mechanism that you're used to, but play, oh wait, there's a little bit of choice behind it, and maybe you know, it just brings in that idea of mitigation and then choice and strategy with the roll and move mechanism, which I think is very underdone well, if that makes sense, in the hobby. And I think that a good roll and move should be showcased in the top 10 for something like BGG, where people are going to look to explore the hobby.
I leave my glasses off. This is this is a good pick.
I've never played this one.
What? Are you just saying that?
No, I'm not. No, I mean, I wouldn't pit it, but I mean, wait, hang on, I didn't say it enough to stain. No,
I mean, it's a good pick for somebody.
no. I get why this one's on there. I did the same thing, but with a different game.
Okay.
And I like your explanation a lot. I would really like to try this one at some point.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
My number 7 is currently ranked 48 and 49 on Board Game Geek.
Got it. Yep.
What is it?
You want me to guess it?
Yes.
The Crew.
That's correct.
Uh-huh. Only
thought it
because
was-
you knew they were back to back, because we looked
Yeah.
at the top 100. I
Oh,
knew they were back.
cheaters!
Well, I mean, what else is going to be
Well,
basically 2 entries?
Ticket to Rides, Dominions. There's lots of games. Don't.
Oh, dang, he did win that one. Sorry.
All right. Anyway, The Crew. It's
This one over the Deep Sea one, though.
well, I mean, it's the same. I'm putting them both here. I would only put one though. I would only put one in the top.
And you'd put the lesser one?
You know what? I think if I was going to throw one of these games on the table and then run out of the room and say, have fun, and hope that people survive the experience, it would be the first one.
Also, you put a pipe bomb in it. Why else are you running?
You don't do that. You don't throw a card. You're like, have fun, and then run out of the room and hope happiness explodes behind you.
Think of the scene from
No.
That's called positive bombing. It's a new thing I'm bringing out.
I'm just going to throw like a whole box of pastries in the office one day. Enjoy!
And we would love you for that.
Positivity bombing.
Positivity bombing. I'm bringing it to the world.
All right.
All right. Then, of course, you know, the TSA would be like, oh, no more donuts on planes. But anyhow, we're getting off topic. The Crew, it's trick taking, which is very, very popular. More popular than people think. People have been playing bridge forever. And hearts and spades and everything else. And it's cooperative. Also very, very, there's just, this writes itself. It won't make the top 10. But again, I like the second one way more than the first one, but I feel even more strongly possibly about this. You're not going to get me to switch here because, again, it's so much easier for people to play the first one because it just, you don't have to teach all those extra rules or figure out what does this card mean in this situation. You're just like, here, this is the
You
first
win the
rule.
blue 4. Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with you. Very closely consider this one myself.
All right. Yes. I'm not changing this one.
All right, my number 6 is this is a representative of basically like the 2-player head-to-head little games. There's so many to pick from. You could almost pick any of them, right? Like your Jaipur and your Lost Cities, which, you know, maybe we have different opinions on, you and I, but like all of those games are super respectable. The one I'm going with, though, even though it's more recent and newer, is Blitzkrieg, the Paulo Mori game.
You don't think the war theme would kind of knock it down for people?
I mean, once again, this is kind of my imaginary should. I think that this game is so good in part because of, like, just look at it. It's punk rock in a board game, right? It is minimalistic. It's kind of chopped back, but and it's just so fast and everything. I really do feel like this is one of those like great punk rock albums when the Pistols or the Ramones came onto the scene and they kind of changed the music
Isn't there
scene.
a band called Blitzkrieg?
No, well, so I was making this analogy, like, I think this is like the Ramones, right? It's stripped down, it's not pretty, you know, but it's so functional and it does exactly what it's meant to do. And then I remembered that the Ramones biggest song is Blitzkrieg Bop. So that just further helps my
I
case.
have that song on my playlist.
Yeah, there you
The
go.
one from the Mike Myers movie, Wayne's World.
Yeah, well, I mean, they also use it in like the Spider-Man Homecoming soundtrack, right? Like the Ramones are a band that are not pretty, they're not commercially viable in a lot of ways, and yet they're classic, they're loved. And I think that's the thing about Blitzkrieg. Does the war theme, do I think it holds it back a little bit? Absolutely. But I don't think that it should. I think that this should be one of the most respected two-player games out there. I think it's that good. Oh, it's tile laying and placement and stuff and tug of war and tracks. I should talk about the game maybe a little bit. So, fantastic game.
Yeah.
All right. My number 6 is Quacks of Quedlinburg. And here's why.
You get more mainstream with each pick.
Because... we'll just wait. No, we're getting ready to... This is...
You were going to break that chair, so I don't know if you heard how much that was squeaking.
Because I feel, again... You don't have, and I know, Chris, you're not a fan of this game, and I don't think you should be a fan of you have to be a fan of every game in the top 10. Not you personally, but as a person. You know what I mean?
I mean you personally.
You personally, I don't care. No, but the top 10. But I think what this one again does is it brings such an experience to the play with the push your luck elements of this. What you look really.
That's our game.
That's our picture.
I know. I just recognized the component. Sorry, I got caught up in that. I was very impressed with that picture.
All right, so my number 6 is Quacks of Quedlinburg. And because I feel like this game really brings that push your luck to a head, and I think it does it in a way that doesn't feel as punishing as a lot of other push your luck games. Because even if you bust in it, you still get something. When I'm playing this game, there's a strategy behind it that I've used a couple times where the first half of the game, I don't care if I bust. I just go as far as I can and really just get that buying power to build up for the second half of the game. I've done the other way, where I'm never going to bust and really play that just shy of busting each time to see how that balances out. And so I think there's a lot of room for strategy in this game in a very lucky push your luck game. And I think that this game, again, melds those mechanisms together very smoothly, which is... I mean, I think I'm going to get a lot of crap for this top 10 and just being like, oh, you want more welcoming games on there. Yes, but again, this is BGG.
I agree.
What can people get to? What is going to get them into the hobby? What are they familiar? Kind of get their feet wet. That is generally either a really, really good game, solid game, mechanically, mechanisms, experience-wise, but also appeals to a wide array of people. And I think that's what this game does. It can appeal. Maybe not everybody loves the game, but very few people hate the game, I would say. I feel like with Quacks, you can at least say that was a fun experience, except for Chris Yee.
I have a differing opinion on it, but I agree with this pick in this context because it's not my favorite game. It's not my 10 favorite games. I think this one has shown that it has wide appeal, but also people play this game so much that they wear the cardboard tokens out, right? So it's not just about being welcoming to a wide variety of people. People play this game, they explore the depths of this game to the point the components fall apart in their hands into dust.
And for a game that's push your luck, that's luck, I think that is really impressive because those games can so often lead to frustration or they don't have the legs to support themselves. It's more of a filler game or something like that. And so to be able to have that depth in that mechanism, I think is really impressive. And because this game was successfully able to do that, it deserves to be in the top 10.
I agree. I'm trying to figure out what its current rating is. It says the Quacks of Quedlinburg, but it...
Did you type in Die Quacks von Quedlinburg, maybe?
No, but it's saying it's not even rated.
Oh, it's because it's a garbage game. That's why.
Well, whatever. This is a very good pick.
Number 60, Tom. I found that in about 4
Number
seconds.
6. Well, this app is not working well.
You forgot your glasses.
I don't need them for my picks because my number 6 through 1, 100% should be in the top 10. Like, not even a question. Definitive.
Oh, I was only at 70%.
All discussion over. My number 6 is a game. It's clearly one of the best games ever made. It started an entire genre based on it, and I still play it today, and many other people do, and that's Dominion. Straight up. Dominion, currently ranked at 111. Nonsense. Should be in the top 10. It's not even in the top 100.
Wow.
That's baloney. On basis of its logo alone. Okay. Maybe
I wish they could change that logo.
they can. They 100% can change it.
They're
But the
physically
backs of the
capable.
cards.
They
of that
had a
logo.
chance called Dominion 2nd Edition.
Oh, that's...
But they were afraid people would go, oh, Magic the Gathering changed theirs.
Oh.
Anyhow, it's a
Also
fantastic
Also,
deck
our
building game.
picture, Wendy took that one to distract you a little bit more.
From my what?
Couldn't tell from the cards that that's our picture.
It's our playmat.
No, I don't know. I don't understand what you were talking about. Dominion's a great game. It really is. Me and Chris have a date set up at some point. We're going to play Dominion multiple times because we got all these new sets to play with.
All these new second editions with the same ugly logo.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun. And yeah, this is one of the highest ones that I have rated for me personally, but also, yeah, I'm sorry, just a great game. I'm here to learn about music. I want to learn about music.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about.
Start with the music first.
Yeah, how about this? Let's start with AC/DC's Back in Black.
I'm out.
Okay. AC/DC's Back in Black is it's a phenomenal album. It was. I won't go into the history of it and everything, but one thing that you can say about AC/DC is that pretty much every album since then has sounded roughly the same, right? You just keep making the same album. AC/DC is not known for being exactly, how do I say this? Wonderfully creative. A lot of the stuff kind of, it's the same thing over and over and over again. My number 5 is Dominion.
I expected, as soon as you said it, I was like, that's
Hey, look, it's the second edition box with the same logo. But here's the thing about Dominion, right? Any box of Dominion, it's always just more cards, it's just the same deck building thing. Yeah, there's flashier other games out there. There's way better bands than AC/DC. But man, this came onto the scene and just kicked the doors open and continues to sell. Back in Black is, I think, it's like the second or third best-selling album of all time. And it sounds like all the rest of the AC/DC albums, and yet somehow it really punched through. I think that's kind of Dominion to me. You could buy any box of it, and it feels like you're playing Dominion with these little changes, these little mechanical, differences and whatnot. But like you said, Tom, it created deck building. I think it's had a massive influence on our hobby to this day, and it's still relevantly being played. We're excited to play all the second edition stuff.
We are.
Yeah, I love it.
And the office is fighting to get in the third spot. No one else wants to join us.
Hey,
there you go. Roy.
Oh, no.
That's why
I fell into my own trap.
Yeah, it was nice winning, Tom. But all right, that's my number 5, Dominion. I mean, Back in Black.
All right, my number 5 is a game that I feel like I'm kind of the champion of, but it is one that I think I love it. It's the one in my top 10 that I know of on my list. It is Eco's First Continent. I think that it takes, again, my top 10 being, as we go up higher, the stronger argument I can make for these to be in the top 10. I think this one it's bingo, right? Just similar to
Rise of Augustus.
Rise of Augustus.
If you'd said Rise of Augustus, I would have
which
your
I
back.
haven't played, but I am more this art, this style, this theme is more me. I think it's
10?
more. I think so. I think it is very generally widespread, can be a comfortable game for people to get into because they're familiar with that bingo. It has that simultaneous play. You're engaged the whole time. There's enough player interaction on the board with the island changing that you're involved in the whole game. But again, it's a very comfortable game. I feel like it's very approachable and represents, once again, a mechanism done very, very well in a game.
I have nothing to say because I so completely disagree with this one.
Really?
I like Eco's okay. I think it's fine. But no one checks it out at a library.
Right. And I don't know why. I mean, maybe they check out Rise of Augustus because you said you do like that one.
They don't check that one out either. They should, though. It's a good game.
I don't know. I know I personally don't like this game very much. We've had this conversation.
Right, yeah, we have.
There's a lot of accidental interaction that happens on the board, but I also know that a lot of people are more okay with that than I am. But I hate when I have just a whole herd of wildebeest that get eaten by sharks somehow. And I'm like, what happened? But
that's actually pretty awesome. Come on now.
I like that, though. I think
That's pretty cool.
It has that flexibility with it. I think
that's cooler than your band analogies. Wildebeest getting eaten by sharks. That's the name of an album.
Right, yeah. That's by the Rin Tin Tinners, 1984.
Don't make fun of my music, but
I don't know how I feel about this one, but I mean,
I think it just, again, just takes that mechanism, and it's a really good implementation. That mechanism that's just overlooked and underappreciated because it is one that is comfortable and very intuitive in this game. And so I think for that, should be in the top 10.
My number 5 is a party game. You mentioned the
Obscurio,
wonderfully
the good one.
popular Obscurio.
Which is available on Amazon, by the way, right now.
It also doesn't mean anything.
Except for it's
means a lot of
available
people
and you
can
said
get
it was
it.
out of print.
Well, that's true. Okay, fine. It's still good. It's not worth your time, folks. This game is loved by party game people, and I think party games are unduly ranked lowly on Board Game Geek, and there is definitely a smugness and snobbery towards party games that blows my mind sometimes. Especially if you dare compare, like Time's Up to Twilight Imperium 4, someone will like run out of the woodwork and slap you. As if their toys are cooler than you having fun at a party game.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That makes no sense. But this party game is liked by people who like complex games. I don't know why. This one gets a pass. So I think this one's in the top 10, and that's Codenames. Codenames is the de facto game that just somehow everyone likes. I don't get it. I love party games. I have like 4 or 5 of them in my top 100. I don't even think Codenames is one of them. But I could be like, I like apples, and people would be like, what's wrong with you?
Sure.
But I could be like, I like Codenames. They're like, oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's weird. But that being said, it is a very well-designed game. It takes the age-old, very popular password game, puts a new spin on it, and was popular enough that there is now 700 different versions. There's probably only like 8. There's a new app coming for this, which looks really good, by the way.
Oh.
Oh, interesting.
Really good. The CG app team is pretty awesome. But I really like how the app has like daily challenges and all kinds of cool stuff. I was very impressed with it.
That would be kind of cool to do this
Interesting.
system, but yeah, with. Okay.
Huh.
I'm kind of sold on that.
Yeah, that'd be
On the
interesting to
app,
try.
not your pick. But no, I think this is the right pick, Tom. I think that
Yeah.
if you were to have a party, I'm sorry, that sounds really bad.
I want to say that what he said,
So,
I mean.
the difference is I don't like this game.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I
Yeah, that
just find
justifies it.
Did I put?
Right.
Oh, I have
I
a game
mean-
on my list I don't like. That's
Really?
coming up still.
And that's fair. But yeah, I think in looking, because again, I kind of wanted that party game, larger group game, and this one just I strongly prefer the other one. And I think anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I don't like this game. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm getting used to this. It's Mike. People do that to me all the time. Go ahead. That was my number 5.
All right, my number 4 is the big, epic, cooperative, story-driven, game. Camilla talked about like Pandemic Legacy for kind of that story element. This is my one that I think really hooks people in with that story. So my number 4 pick is
Music.
The Wall by Pink Floyd.
Okay.
Mansions of Madness.
Oh.
The Wall has a beautiful. Have you listened to The Wall by Pink Floyd?
I don't know anything by album names. I'm more of a modern guy who mixes music all together.
Okay.
Is The Wall a single
So
song?
modern.
Another brick in the wall.
Okay, we all know I'm not listening to this stuff. Can you
No.
pick a band that's not heavy metal or something, like a band I would know?
Well, Pink Floyd is
I actually,
psychedelia.
no, I
for
hear of
sure.
all these. I don't listen to that kind of music.
No, I mean they're far from
Can
heavy
you pick
metal.
big band or swing or
I'll get you here in a minute.
Raffy?
Banana phone.
Oh, I have a game for that. It's called Quelf.
No, I went with Mansion of Madness because I think that this is such a great representation of what a lot of hobby games are that people really get into. People buy entire wooden crates and stuff of this game because of all the expansions and stuff. But it's so fun, and despite its kind of big appearance and epicness and everything, that app really streamlines so much of it so people can just play it. My comparison to The Wall is that it's a little creepy. The Wall is an awesome album, but has a lot of kind of undertones of uneasiness to it, but it's also big. It's a double album that is just a concept album the whole way through. And I think that if you put up with kind of the long playtime of Mansions of Madness, which I think is easy to do because everything about it is seamless, like a concept album, then it's so rewarding. So that's my number 4 pick.
Okay.
You should
All
listen
right.
to a little more music, Tom.
I listen to a lot more music than I think that most of you do. It's just that none of you wants to listen to that music. There's that.
I like that pick. I have one. I'll come back to it later in reference of that one. That one's not on my list, but I did consider it. My number 4, I definitely think will be a lot of backlash on. But I think it's the last one that there will be a lot of backlash on. I think we'll see.
I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready.
Yeah, my number 4 is Draftosaurus. And here is why.
I don't hate this as much as Obscurio.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Tall compliment from the tall Vasel there. Draftosaurus, because I think that this is the game that I think should be in the top 10 because it's one that you should be able to go into Target and pick up. You're like, ooh, phase 10 or Draftosaurus? Draftosaurus should be there.
Okay, to be fair, you used a really bad analogy there. Phase 10 or, this rotten piece of fruit.
All right, but I mean, really, just again. All right, but I mean, just in the ease of play, how easy it is to get to the table, but how just charming it is. It's absolutely charming. It's these little games like this, these little light games that don't make the top 10 on BGG, that are very underrepresented in that sphere. That should be. You can go and you can play it with everybody. It's a very charming, absolutely charming game that I think is very wide appeal. I mean, in the realm of like the roll and writes and that kind of stuff. This is obviously not a roll and write, it's more the drafting mechanism, but I kind of put those in the same sphere. And I think that this should be on the top 10 for that representation of, again, the mainstream accessibility.
I love this game. Look at the design team on this game. It's wild.
I don't know.
Got Antoine Bauza,
yeah.
Ludovic Malblanc, Theo Rivera. Like, those are classic game design. I don't know. I'm going to throw around the word classic cautiously. But I mean, those are big name game designers. And I think that they made such a standout game for this, what looks like a little kid's game.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid. Did you see the little dino things I got in ours?
No.
What? Yeah, so I upgraded. This is a shock. So I upgraded. There's these little containers that you put the dinos in and you can pass them. That way you don't have to hold them in your hand the whole time.
Right.
I'm curious. Okay.
Oh.
It's a small, well, it's actually a big change because it takes up almost the whole box.
Yeah.
But
they look like Jurassic Park cages. Like
I forget what they look like, but yeah, something dinosaur themed.
We're going to have to look at this afterwards.
Again, I mean, not my top 10, but I think, again, a BGG top 10 that's going to represent that mass appeal. I think that this absolutely deserves to be on there and deserves the recognition in that space.
My number 4 is almost a crossover with Camilla. Almost. And I tried to clarify, but no, you were sticking with a game that was already on the top 10. Mine is ranked 122 right now, Pandemic. Straight up.
The vanilla, the original? Okay.
It is original. I mean, you can play with like any of the 4 expansions. Well, I look at a game and a series as I don't think any game from a series should be able to be in the top 100 more than once. I really do think that. Whatever dumb reasoning aside, it just seems like that's the way it should be. But yeah, this game changed board gaming. Mm-hmm. Cooperative games exist now because of Pandemic. Yes, there were cooperative games before Pandemic, Shadows over Camelot, Lord of the Rings, and a bunch of really, really, really bad educational ones.
The original Arkham Horror.
Yes-ish.
Yeah.
But this one made it a viable thing and has changed board gaming. It also has the best tournaments in all of gaming. I don't like tournaments. The tournaments for Pandemic are amazing.
That's a good point.
I have been interested in them. I think it's really fascinating.
Oh, man, no. One of my favorite moments of life is watching Z Garcia and Eric Summer play in one. I've never seen those two so stressed. Because what they do is they give everybody the same 2 rolls. All the cards are stacked the same. And then they call out, this is a new card, and everyone does it. Everyone does the same thing, and yet after about 10 minutes, you look and every board is completely different.
Right.
And you just got to last longer than everybody else or win first.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super stressful, but it is not stressful at all to watch.
And that's so
I love it.
You want to talk about a game that has wide breadth of acclaim, but also that deep depth.
Right.
I mean, this is a great pick.
And this is what bugs me sometimes, that these games do get relegated out of that, because like, yeah, of course everyone knows about Pandemic. Okay. And it's also, this bugs me about movies.
Right.
That a movie is very popular and well rated, but still, because it's popular, it's almost like, it can't be in the top 10.
Right. Well, there's no Citizen Kane.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Pandemic in my number 4.
up to this point, Camilla has not criticized necessarily the look of my games, and that's all about to change now. My number 3.
If you dare put a food chain magnet or something on here.
Oh
I
dear.
will not.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no. So my number 3 is the classic Freedom and Freeze game, Power Grid.
You still are. You got to do your music.
Oh, okay. Well, so
Yeah.
this is my most tenuous musical connection, right? But I think Power Grid is a classic. It sells well. It has hundreds of maps, sometimes probably for countries that don't even exist, right? There's so many maps for this game. That's a hyperbole. But I think that this game is so mechanically sound. It is a mix of auctioning with, and you want to maintain your money for the resources to be able to power the plants that you auction off, and then to also expand out. This is kind of Freedom and Freeze's like most humorless game, right? Like I don't know. Wouldn't you agree with that, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah, like almost by and far. So my analogy for music-wise
Maybe
here
504. 504 has some of the humor
yeah.
sucked out of it.
Yeah. Okay, so my musical analogy though is like a mid-era Red Hot Chili Peppers album, like Californication.
Hey, I know them.
Yeah, no, they're great,
hey.
right? They're consistently they are consistently the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but that Californication album, especially the songs that they're really known for, are kind of a weird departure from their normal sound, and yet it's still them to their core. This Power Grid is a Freedom and Freeze game. But it's kind of the driest. It's kind of a step away. If you were to then say, "Oh, I like this," what else is in his catalog? Very different stuff. You go listen to the first Chili Peppers, the Uplift Party Plan album, and it is not that album. But still, they put out great music, and I think that Power Grid is one of those that's made such a nice impact on the hobby because it is a good stepping stone into heavier, drier Euro games. And I really like it.
I don't know why I didn't put this one on my list. This is a very good choice.
This is a game that I have. I think I keep thinking I need to play it, and then someone explains it, and I'm like, I do not need to play that. I'm going to hate it. But I can respect that. I think that this is a place for it. You know what
You
I mean?
might be
'Cause
the
I
only
think
person dice out it. This is one of the few games that everyone likes for some reason.
every time someone explains it, I'm like, oh, I really think I'm gonna hate it.
You might.
You might. You very well might.
like-
And Wendy doesn't like auctioning very much, but she also enjoys this game. So
Right.
it has a weird magic touch to it.
But it's one that I could see again being in that top 10. You
Yeah.
know, I can see it deserving to be there.
All right.
I think you might hate it.
You think I might hate it?
Don't be bringing it down, man.
It's awesome.
You'll hate it.
I'm definitely gonna hate it. All right, my number 3 is Imperial Settlers: Empires of the North. This is one that I think this game really does a good job of the tableau building. People that are used to playing card games can really get into this, building up your tableau, your combo tactics. It gives a really good sense of accomplishment, and in that it's just a very smoothed out version of other games that do similar things. I think it's one of those that it can be a little bit to wrap your head around, and so at the beginning, but once you get it, you kind of see again that depth and the legs with very smooth mechanisms in it. It just feels good when you play and you're there and you have your combos and your tableau built up. I think it does that mechanism very, very well. That is also kind of a comfort mechanism to a lot of people coming from card game background, coming from that building up their empire. And it's just a very smooth, what I find smooth gameplay once you kind of get it down. So it shows what can be done with card play and tableau building very smoothly.
Alexander Pfister, not the designer of this game, but a designer of many popular games, he talks about he likes using cards because they're so comfortable to people. There's something very comfortable holding a hand of cards and making choices from that. And he thinks that it's a good way to get lots of information across without overwhelming people.
Right.
And yeah, that's really cool.
And I did consider it's, I guess, similar kind of roots, but it's a different game, I think. 51st State for this as well, but I think that this one is more generally, for the top 10.
No, that's a
You
good choice.
disagree?
I would have put 51st State in the top.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like this one is just more generally accessible and just representative, I think, of a wider range in the hobby. Again, I very much like 51st State, but this one's just more approachable, but I wouldn't necessarily say any lighter. it's just more approachable for whatever reason, a little bit smoother of a game. So my number 3 is Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North.
My number 3 should be in the top 10. In fact, I know for a fact that if all gamers, no, like I mean, it's not like I wish. If all gamers who considered themselves to be a tabletop gamer, if you went around and forced them to go on Board Game Geek and rank their favorite games of 10, this game would be number 1. There would be no even close number 2, and that is Magic the Gathering. Straight up. Magic the Gathering, the fact that it is 158 is because there is an inherent bias amongst many board gamers. I'm not saying it's an unfair bias against it, because it is a legit thing. If you don't like collectability, you might not like Magic. Even if you take the collectability out of it, you still might not like Magic. There's definitely there's luck in the card draw and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of it's about the deck building and not about the actual playing of the game and so on and so forth. And there's rarities. And Magic comes with its inherent problems. I can see why board gamers don't like it. But millions of people love this game. And the only reason that it's not ranked number 1 at Board Game Geek is because they usually go to their own Magic websites.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, Board Game Geek lets you rate things low and high. So then all the people who aren't rating it high are rating it low. Yeah. Now, yes, you can make the argument that also Munchkin would probably be pretty high, too, if all the Munchkin players came in. But Magic for sure would be. And I think it's also a good game. It is groundbreaking. It has changed our hobby. I would say that we would not be sitting here right now if Magic had never been invented. I really feel that that's a true statement. Magic made the board gaming hobby financially feasible.
That's a really good point. I personally didn't consider something like this, or I didn't consider things like chess and whatnot, because in my mind that's not what Board Game Geek does.
Board Game Geek is all games. You can't exclude the CCGs.
I'm not saying that you should or anything like that, but just kind of the reality of what is there, because there's Magic.
But I'm here to change that reality. I'm going to matrix this.
But I don't know if Board Game Geek is the best resource for Magic the Gathering players because of the other Magic the Gathering websites and stuff.
Sure.
The same that Board Game Geek is not the best place for chess players because there's more forums for that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that was my
Don't be hurting my future picks, okay? We're talking about Magic the Gathering.
Okay. Sorry.
My number 3.
I'm going to go hide now. How about some Motown records, Tom?
Motown.
Thank you, Chris. I like this a lot.
I've taken you through a long journey through a lot of rock and roll and classic rock, and Pink Floyd, who I discovered from you today, is heavy metal. But
no, I don't know. No. I will come back to this point later.
Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
Your opinions on Marvin Gaye?
I'm sure he's fine.
He's an amazing artist.
Give me some of his songs, because I don't know all the people who write his songs I listen to.
Most famously, Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Okay, there you go. Yes.
Yeah, but his album, specifically What's Going On, is a phenomenal album. And one of the things that it's very transportive. You listen to it, it's jazzy, it's soulful, it's that Motown signature production that makes it elevated above other music of its era as well. Even though there's great songwriters, the production of it there's something about it that's transportive and calming and soothing. So my number 2 pick is Viticulture. I think that Viticulture is...
You think Viticulture is soothing?
Well, I wouldn't say soothing. I know a lot of people say that they feel it's a pretty serene game. I actually think it's fairly stressful, personally.
Okay, I agree.
But I like its setting so much that I enjoy being there. This is a phenomenal worker placement game. I think that a lot of people would agree that this is one of the first times they saw this level of that Stonemaier production. Right, that's my Motown Records analogy. Motown did a lot to make their music sonically stand out from the competitors on the AM radio, and I think that the Stonemaier production doesn't hurt this, but underneath it still is such a solid and intentional design that I just really have so much fun playing it.
Oh, I love the game.
Yeah,
it did make my top 10. I considered it, but I was already putting Wingspan in, and I don't know. I wouldn't put as many of
Sure.
the same style games because Agricola I put it instead of Viticulture.
Okay, that's fair. You have a
Right.
yeah, you have Wingspan kind of for that production and for that
Right.
welcomingness and stuff, and a different worker placement game. This one's my worker placement pick.
I love this game though. Yes.
I love it. It's also, I mean, worker placement is one of the most popular mechanisms out there, so I think this has a very good place amongst the top of Board Game Geek. There you go. So that's my number 2 pick.
All right.
All right, my number 2 is Aquatica. And I think this deserves to be in the top 10 because it has, thank you, Roy. I think it very smoothly integrates a hand management and deck building, setting up combos. I think that those, it kind of reminded me of like Dune, because I consider Dune here for this as well, with that, just that being able to manage a small deck of cards and showing what you can do in that, how you can build up and set up combos with a very limited hand of cards, and I think that it's absolutely gorgeous. It's very smooth in that it sets you up for some really epic turns, I guess, where you just feel so smart or intelligent, as you're like, boom, I just got like 7 points.
That is how
whatever.
you explain games. Everyone makes fun of me for doing that.
Do what?
That is how you do game
That is how
I
you
boop the
combo
bops.
tastic. Yes, you boop the dots. And I think because of that, it deserves to be in the top 10 because it takes, once again, I have to say this every single time, it takes those mechanisms and showcases them so smoothly and so intuitively that it deserves a spot in there for that design and for that space that it represents.
Dice Tower Central, so what am I going to say?
There you go. What are you going to say, Tom? What are you going to say?
I mean, I like the game a lot.
I think it just really showcases that mechanism, very well, and in a way that I haven't seen other ones in this space.
Yeah, like a lot of things have engine building and get extra
Right.
things that you can flip once per turn or whatever,
Yeah.
but something about this one does feel different and unique.
Right.
It does. I like this game. All right, my number 2 is currently ranked 188. Chris has already jumped on my thoughts for this one, but you know what? Popular abstract games can be in the top 10, but not chess. Go. And this is the game on my list that I don't like. I don't like Go because when I play Go, my brain melts. And I love logic. I like abstract games. I do. Go makes me sad because it's so hard to grasp.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it has like 3 rules, and I'm still like, oh, because you could put your piece anywhere on the board. There is hundreds of places to put your, I don't know, hundreds. I don't know what the board is. It's like 50,
16 by 16?
There's
I forget, yeah.
a couple hundred places to put your thing, and it's like, wow. I mean, I'll put it next to this one. I'm making a line, and but here's the thing. Despite my own opinions on it, it's very popular. It's the oldest game on this list, so this is my Citizen Kane. But it's still being played in much of the world today.
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially in Asia, it is played a lot. And I might put chess because chess is more well-renowned in the world, especially, it has a resurgence every few years for something. Like recently, Queen's Gambit made it popular again. But Go is a deeper, more impressive game. So that's what I picked for number 2.
All right, Tom really wants me to do music first.
I do.
Led Zeppelin 4. Right. One of the most classic albums of all time, Stairway to Heaven. Every kid who wants to learn to play the guitar walks into a Guitar Center at some point and starts playing the opening licks to Stairway to Heaven. And people say, there's that kid playing that song again, right? It's one of those things that has almost become ubiquitous. Like, oh, you like rock and roll. I bet you love Stairway to Heaven. It's one of those that, like, yes, but it's a great song. That whole album is fantastic. It's almost one of those things that becomes so successful that people are like, oh, yeah, that thing. No, it's not just that thing. It's one of the greatest albums ever made. My number 1 is Azul. I think that Azul is one of the most
That is
played
a
games
really
out
weird segue, but okay.
What? So
You act like Azul's been out for 20 years now.
no, and a lot of my music picks are a little bit older and stuff. Yeah, but a lot of people do kind of dismiss this weight of game, right?
I agree on that completely. Revisiting soon, but continue.
Okay. I think Azul is not even one of my favorite games. I don't think it made my top 100, but it is undoubtedly smooth. It's incredibly inviting and super successful. On top of that, it's spurred multiple sequels. And my favorite is the second one, the stained glass one, honestly. But I just chose original Azul. When you look at convention checkouts data, this is high up there. You know, this is incredibly high up there. You look at Board Game Arena online. This is the single most played game on there.
Is it?
Yes. Right? People play this game so much. Yes. Is Stairway to Heaven almost in some circles, kind of a trite song? Sure. But it doesn't stop the fact that it's phenomenal. It's one of the best. It's part of one of the best albums ever made. I think that this is an incredibly great game that feels almost older than it is while still feeling fresh somehow. And I think that the numbers kind of speak to it. I'm surprised Azul isn't in the top, but it's kind of that. It's kind of that the top 10 currently is a lot of involved, deep games.
It's because the way Board Game Geek does their voting, they allow lower votes to bring it down. There's one thing I like about the Dice Tower, our thing, and
the People's Choice Award.
People's Choice, you can just vote for your favorites. So people's favorites go to the top, which would allow Azul to go up there, but some people go no. While a lot of games in the Board Game Geek top 10, let's say Gloomhaven, a lot of people look at Gloomhaven and go, no, I ain't playing it.
And so
but they don't then rate it low.
Right.
They just never play it.
They just don't play it.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
All right. So that's my number one.
I like this choice a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't care for the game, but I like the choice. Yeah. So, my number one, the game that absolutely none of the others can be on the top 10, but I think this one should be, and I referenced it earlier when you did Mansions of Madness. I think Destiny should be on there for that kind of category.
Really?
Because I think, and again, I love Mansions of Madness. Like, I really, really enjoy it, but I think Mansions of Madness can be sometimes fiddly, and it's a lot to kind of read and take in, whereas I think Destiny's, what it does is it makes you feel, it has that epic story building where you're really getting into it, and it's this world that you're going through, and you kind of just feel, clever is not the word, but unique, because you have your piece of your pie of the story that you understand. You know what's going on, so you know what you're fighting for. But it leads to those interesting discussions after, those epic moments where you're like, what? That was your son, or whatever, and as you kind of see the whole story at the end. So I think it's very memorable moments that give that story and that world building, but it's still just one play session, because I was also kind of thinking like, maybe Sleeping Gods, but I think this one does so much. It takes a lot of fiddliness out of Mansions of Madness, which again I love, but it takes that out, which I think makes this more appealing to a wider array of people, and it deserves to be there and represented in that space of those epic moments, those storytelling games. And so just again, that Sleeping Gods, Mansions of Madness, I think that this one does it really, really well.
I really kind of waffled if I was going to include this one or not.
Really?
I did. I know that is some of my own personal bias. This is one of my favorite games to come out in a very long time. I think that it does this genre really well. I mean, just moving those markers on your board. It's a great visual representation of leveling up and becoming stronger and mitigating the odds in a game that is, a lot of times determined by die rolls. But there's so much that this game does right. Yeah, I really considered it.
My number one is not very much a surprise, since most people in chat have already called it. It's ranked 201 currently, but it's everything Chris said about Azul. It's just a better game, and that's Ticket to Ride. Azul's hotter because it's newer, but Ticket to Ride, once upon a time, was where Azul was.
It's fair, very fair.
And currently is still beating Azul in a number of interesting expansions. But this game hit the world. It got, and also this game has fewer flaws than Catan does, for example.
Yeah.
I'm not smashing Catan. I think Catan's a fine game. But Catan has flaws. You can have a bad starting situation if you're not careful. You can have bad luck. That stuff is not as evident in Ticket to Ride. Yes, you roll dice in Catan. Ticket to Ride, you have cards in your hand. And it lets you have a sense of accomplishment. Come back tomorrow for games that give you a good sense of accomplishment. Favorite Game Friday. But Ticket to Ride just has that, and I don't know. I think it works. It's one of these gateway games or whatever, welcoming games that gamers can still play. I was at Gen Con. I went to the train game area, and there was 18XX and Ticket to Ride.
Yep.
Those were the only train games being played. So.
Another one that I was debating what to kind of pick, and I don't know, maybe if I was a little bit more in the hobby when this kind of came out, and I could see that, you know what I mean? There is a little bit of that. You were there. This is one of those that you did. That
is a tough thing, right? Because maybe I would have picked Azul if I started 10 years later.
Yeah, it could be.
And I might have picked Carcassonne if I had started 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And Catan if I had started 10 years before that. Who knows?
Right. Yeah.
All right, let's see what you chose, the People Choice. As we jump to this, don't forget, you can vote on the People Choice. Next week, our top 10 is top 10 games that should have been an email. Games that go on way longer than they need to. Don't get me started. I'll yell about that next week. But you can go and vote for your favorite games, and maybe they'll make the list. But here's what you voted for, games that should be in the Board Game Geek top 10. So number 10 is Blood Rage. I thought people would pick this one.
Yeah, I disagree with it, though.
Okay. 9, Dune Imperium. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Woo!
8, Dominion.
Hey.
7, Quacks. Hey, people
agree with that, yeah.
6, Everdell.
I really considered Everdell. That was...
Wait till you see what's coming up next here. What's number 5? Ticket to Ride. 4, Root. 3, Scythe. Look at number 2.
I considered...
5, Session. That's one of yours.
But again, I'm not... This is not my personal top 10. These are games that I can make the argument
I know, but
for
the
them to be...
people are agreeing with you is what I'm saying.
That's probably the biggest surprise.
But top 10.
Yeah.
But again, that's what BGG...
That is the biggest surprise for me.
Obsession is one that I would see BGG the way it's set up at being on there. But again, this is what what games I think should be on there. Anyway, it's a great game. I love it. Not dissing the game.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you for the people who gave us thumbs up, and also the 13 people who gave us thumbs down. Before we go, a couple things. First of all, obviously, this sort of stuff is our opinion, and again, I'm not saying that BGG top 10 is flawed. I think there are flaws in it, but I think there's flaws in every top ranking list that you can possibly make.
There always will be, yeah.
But anyway, I was thinking as I watched the many, many, many comments talking about how I know nothing about music. And I find this interesting, okay? No, because I don't know much about rock. I really don't. I didn't listen to it much. I still don't particularly like it. And when I do listen to songs, I very rarely pay attention to who's singing them, who's playing them. I like that song, add it to this list.
Yeah.
If you ask me about movie scores, though, I know all the wazoo about that, usually, because I know who wrote this. I can tell you what's happening in a movie, usually, at that point in time. I also know a lot of Christian music. I know a lot of other music. But I don't get on your case if you don't know who designed a particular game. I probably do. Ooh. Don't be snobs about music. Don't be snobs about anything, really. So I don't want to be snobby here. I mean, we are fake snobby when Camilla makes incorrect picks and when Chris makes incorrect picks and when everyone makes incorrect picks except me, because that's the whole point of these top 10s.
Yeah, Agricola Caverna, man.
Our arguments about these top 10s go on way past these recordings of these, but we all have fun doing it. We hope you take that in fun, too. Feel free in the comments to tell us how you cannot believe we picked a specific game. Feel free to tell us what games you would have picked. Don't call people morons, though.
That's a good rule of thumb.
I'm saying this because
be a decent human being.
I fully expect there to be many comments about my lack of music thing.
And there's going to be tons of comments about my picks, no doubt. Or people, like you said in the beginning, people that just go and look at the little end screenshot, and not the reasoning behind it. It's like,
That's true.
No, this is not the top 10. I am not saying this should be the top 10.
Or the 100 of you stop watching as soon as we hit number 1. Happens every time. I have the stats to show it. Hey, folks, we're really glad that you showed up. This is the last live thing this week, I think, right?
Yes.
But tomorrow something cool is being recorded, which I'm not spoiling, but it will be coming up, right? I'm not lying. It's something cool.
It is something very cool.
Quite cool.
I've been looking forward to this for a couple weeks.
Yeah, it'll take some effort and take some time, but we can just tease that
it's for the Autumn Spectacular.
Preparing for the Autumn Spectacular. Wait, isn't the Summer Spectacular just over? Yeah. But we work diligently around these parts.
And it takes that much time. It takes one of us that much time.
There is upcoming stuff. So for the next few days, I will be out. I'm taking my daughter to college. Holly the painter is painting no more.
Just mail her minis. Yeah, you could be doing trigonometry, but you got to paint over.
She's doing elementary education, not trigonometry.
But
anyway.
I don't know what they teach kids these days, Tom.
we have merchandising coming to the Dice Tower soon. We're working on that behind the scenes and everything, so keep an eye out for that. And other things are happening that I'm working on in the studio.
Yes.
Is underway. Tomorrow,
big
we
day for
open
that.
up the space. We should probably take some video of that
Yeah,
once it's open, because we had all our secret stuff in there. And it will be free. And Z's already working on the layout. It's still going to be months before we get it done, but we can see the end in sight now. Mostly
real
because there's
excited.
air conditioning in there. That's a big deal.
It's so nice.
That helps you see better.
It's so
yeah,
nice.
the air conditioning.
And now we just need to learn how to air condition the backyard.
Whoa.
I still think we can make a tent that goes to the shed, like a little tunnel. All right.
Yeah, I want a tunnel. I want to come. I want to pop up
Bugs Bunny?
inside.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, next Kickstarter. That's
You can
a
tell
stretch
it's
goal.
Thursday here, folks. All right, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Chris Yee.
Have fun rating games.